Hello, my name is Ken, and I want to welcome you to Deep Waters. This podcast is brought to you by Applied Strength Ministry, where we believe working together in our strengths is the effective working out the will and calling of God in our lives. The title of this message is Church Purpose. This is Series 2, Episode 4 of 28. I really like these events. That is, reading about these events, as I have not been in one ever. And yes, that peeves me to no end. I mean, come on. I know that I'm not the only one here who thinks God ought to show up and outdo himself. I agree with these events, and in my short life I see why we need these events. We need revivals and awakenings because the Church of God, assuming it was operating in the supernatural at all, is always in a digressive state. I believe the Ephesus church was only around for about 5 years after Paul's departure from this war zone. You see, these events are best described as heaven touching earth. In Matthew it states, "But if I cast out demons by the Spirit of God, surely the kingdom of God has come upon you." 12:28. You see, God is usually in control for the first bit of time. Until the spirit of digression shows up. Then at some point, like Christmas, it's over before you know it. As a kid, we never wanted Christmas to end. And so it is with a Christian who flourishes at the spring well of God. Proverbs 18:4. The words of man's mouth are deep waters. The wellspring of wisdom is a flowing brook. I do not ever want to see these events end until such time that the heavens and earth are rolled up like a scroll. Isaiah 34:4. All the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled up like a scroll. All their hosts shall fall down as a leaf falls from the vine, as a fruit falling from a fig tree. I imagine it will be the greatest leaf for all. But wait, you say, Ken, have you been a part of a revival or a great awakening? And besides, free for all and leaf for all don't make sense in the interchange that you have used them. My retort would be that no, I have not, and I think I already stated that. I'm only speaking from my dream, oh, do I ever wish it would happen this very moment state of heart. This is to say that if I were ever in one, I would never want it to end. Nope, not ever, and yet I know better. It would still be oh so ever worth it to be a part of one. But they will all end until the end, and then the beginning. These events have an accelerating effect on the growth of a new Christian that would and could make a lifelong Christian who has never experienced such a thing, fatigued of his long efforts to move anyone off the couch in the ministry service. These events are like flea markets having a 90% off sale. Too out there for the straight-up religious folks. Oh, how we will be shocked when we get to heaven, being now so dead on our hopeless religion. Not all of us, of course. If you could grow at a rate of 2, 3, or 4 or more times at the rate of your current growth and maturity, would you not want that more than air? So in looking at why revivals and awakenings are subject to the digressive principle, we know that one of the activities that often takes place is that Peter wants to build 3 tabernacles rather than find out what God is doing and wants to continue to do. Matthew puts it like this. Matthew 17:1-8. Now after 6 days Jesus took Peter, James, and John, his brother, led them up on a high mountain by themselves. And he was transfigured before them. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes became as white as the light. And behold, Moses and Elijah appeared to them, talking with him. Then Peter answered and said to Jesus, Lord, is it good for us to be here? If you wish, let us make here 3 tabernacles, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. Thankfully, God interrupted his I want to be a contractor moment and gave Peter what he needed to hear. In verse 5 it states, While he was still speaking, behold, a bright cloud overshadowed them. And suddenly a voice came out of the cloud saying, This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Hear him. And when the disciples heard it, they fell on their faces and were greatly afraid. But Jesus came and touched them and said, Arise, and do not be afraid. When they had lifted up their eyes, they saw no one but Jesus only. So is it so wrong to ask God to scare you sinless? You see, when the church organizes and installs a hierarchy, whereby a few, who do not work to equip the saints for the work of ministry, instruct the now dormant body of their understanding of the word, absent sometimes of gifting and calling, you end up content with a location but not a position. You end up content with an address but not with the presence. You end up with a tabernacle, but not being the tabernacle. This is the same behavior as when all of the elders of Israel requested a natural king rather than to be led by God himself. 1 Samuel 8:4-7. Then the elders of Israel gathered together and came to Samuel at Ramah, and said to him, Look, you are old, and your sons do not walk in your ways. Now make us a king to judge us, like all the nations. It's funny that they asked in such a manner, implying that Samuel can make any old human a king. What a decline. A purposeful rejection of God and his leading. Now I know it's not easy being led by God. I've read the stories. He has really high expectations, and he cuts right down to the chase on every issue that's holding you back from his purpose. He leads like he is jealous for our success. But that should be no reason to reject his leadership for our life. Verse 6. But the thing displeased Samuel when they said, Give us a king to judge us. So Samuel prayed to the Lord, and the Lord said to Samuel, Heed the voice of the people and all that they say to you. For they have not rejected you, but they have rejected me, that I should not reign over them. Is this not many of us today? One is too many in case you were counting. Do we not say to church leadership that God is my leader, and you will have no say in the affairs of my life? I know, no one does that. And yet our communities look like 50-year-old government-run hospitals. Now that's an image for you to express in your own way. The point being, there should be no similarity, or rather outcome. And so it continues. We seek a request to be led by the natural instead of God, and thus the foundation recedes from whence it came, and the revival is no more. For me, the pain of experiencing a revival ending may be greater than the passion to see that one would come. No, I want it more than this ministry, more than the preservation of my own life. So we have discussed some church superheroes and revivals and awakening. But what does this or that have to do with the church? It is my hope that as I make this dismal attempt to continue to unpack this message, which I would liken to giving birth to a whole generation of kids all at once, we could see that the church, when it is acting and operating as a church was designed to do, would be the hero headquarters for the community in which it exists. Revivals will pour out its doors and go into all the nations. Many would see the battle firsthand for the first time in their Christian walk. The devil would be in such desperation that he would do all that he could to shut its doors, if it were possible. You know his army of demons don't ever grow nor diminish. What grows is his human membership, those he enlists to do his bidding. Oftentimes they have infiltrated the four walls of your church. Talk about an inside job. He enters inside the willing and unrepentant sinner, who is already accepted inside. So do you think the devil will try to shut this message down? Yep. We can if the bride buys into the premise that she makes herself ready for his return. She can Joel chapter 2 this whole planet into a state of frenzied but orderly revival. Joel 2, 1-11. Blow the trumpet in Zion and sound the alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble. For the day of the Lord is coming, for it is at hand. A day of darkness and gloominess, a day of clouds and thick darkness, like the morning clouds spread over the mountains. A people come, great and strong, the like of whom has never been, nor will there ever be such after them, even for many successive generations. A fire devours before them, and behind them a flame burns. The land is like the Garden of Eden before them, and behind them a desolate wilderness. Surely nothing shall escape them. Their appearance is like the appearance of horses, and like swift steeds, so they run. With a noise like chariots over mountain tops they leap, like the noise of a flaming fire that devours the stubble, like a strong people set in battle array. Before them the people writhe in pain. All faces are drained of color. They run like mighty men. They climb the wall like men of war. Everyone marches in formation, and they do not break ranks. They do not push one another. Everyone marches in his own column. Though they lunge between the weapons, they are not cut down. They run to and fro in the city. They run on the wall. They climb into the houses. They enter at the window like a thief. The earth quakes before them. The heavens tremble. The sun and moon grow dark, and the stars diminish their brightness. The Lord gives voice before his army, for his camp is very great. For strong is the one who executes his word. For the day of the Lord is great and very terrible. Who can endure it? Well, that's it for today. I hope and pray that you too want to see the day when the church peeps want to follow the Joel chapter 2 example of what a Christian community could be. Now don't go trying to change them. Just work on your log. This will be sufficient enough work for you now. Remember, it's not what you find wrong or disagree with regarding these messages, but what you can take away from it. Together we can do more to impact the kingdom than if we work alone. Let's flip the script and kill, steal, and destroy the works of the enemy and create space for the light of lights to shine through into people's lives. Plant a seed and click on the like and subscribe button. Let's build this ministry together. Thanks, and see you next time in deep water.